Hello, good morning. Yeah, so I think you saw my photo up here before, and it's a very old photo, so I know, right? It doesn't look like me at all anymore, and maybe I just need to shave, I'm not sure. I also have to apologize, I'm a bit jet lagged, so if I fall asleep up here, somebody in the front row just throws something at me, and I'll try to wake up. But Pablo, I think, introduced me already. But I'm a product manager on the Google Analytics team. My primary focus area is Google Tag Manager, which I'll talk about a bit later on today in one of the technical tracks. But I also spend a lot of time thinking about the other products in Google Analytics and the wider Google Analytics product area. And that's what I want to talk a bit more about today. But before I get into that, a little bit of background. I've been at Google for 6 years. Actually, this week was what we call my 6-year Googleversary, or my 6-year anniversary of starting work at Google. And I actually spent the majority of that time not working on the product itself, but helping our customers with our products on our services team. So I was the first support team member for Google Analytics Premium, and then I led our implementation team for a few years. So I spent a lot of time thinking about how our products can be used to achieve business goals, right? How you as marketers or analysts or developers or whatever roles you're in are able to get the data that you need, analyze that data, get insights out of it, and take action on that data. And I think Madhu did a great job already this morning talking a bit about that user journey and how Google Analytics is evolving to talk about that. So in my talk this morning, we'll talk a bit about this concept of the Google Analytics 360 suite. So I don't know how many of you have, maybe if you show of hands, how many people have heard of this Google Analytics 360 suite? Excellent. So that's quite a few, but not everybody. So we'll talk about this. I'll give you an introduction of what it is, why we decided to create this product offering. And then we'll walk through a use case, some examples of how all of these products can be used together, sort of building on the user journey and the user analysis that Madhu had presented. And then we'll, as we have time, we'll talk about some customer use cases and some examples of how our customers have used these products to achieve their business goals. So before we get into all of that, I want to reiterate what we already heard this morning, right? I think we all know that technology is changing and marketing is changing as a result. Maybe if I can get a show of hands again, how many people actively use Google Analytics today? Okay, great. And how many people have used Google Analytics for 2 years? Still a lot of people. 5 years? Okay, less or fewer people. 10 years. A handful of people. So since almost the beginning of Google Analytics, when we acquired Urchin back in 2005 and turned it into Google Analytics. And in this time, marketing has changed a lot. The world has changed a lot. Madhu showed us that photo of the same scene in 2005 and 2013 with people having their cell phones out. And we know that the period of activity, the time that our users are engaging with our business changes a lot. We talked a bit about how it was once the case where we had a session of engagement. And our websites were really designed to hone in on that session of engagement. Right? A user would arrive at our homepage, a landing page, and we would engage them and try to drive them through to a conversion. And we had maybe 5 to 15 minutes to do so. But now, as we heard already, this is changing a lot, right? It's not about this one session of engagement, but about these individual moments, these micro moments, these small spurts of engagement during which somebody pulls out their phone and tries to go and do something, right? And for all of you as marketers or analysts or developers, you hopefully know that this isn't just a challenge, but a great opportunity, right? It's easier than ever before to collect data about the entire user journey, to understand how our users, how our customers are behaving not just when they sit in front of the computer, but throughout their engagement with us throughout their lives. And I think it's important to note that as marketing has changed and as engagement has changed, as Google, it's up to us to make sure that the tool set keeps up with all of these challenges, to ensure that all of you can continue to do your jobs well in this world of modern marketing. So, I think it's important to note that instead of having all of these individual sessions, we now have these micro moments, right? And this tool set really needs to be able to keep up. We found that, in recent studies, that sophisticated marketers who use an analytics platform which is integrated, right, not just a siloed tool here and then another tool here, but the ability to have data flow from one tool to the other and to be able to take action on things not only on your, based on your data and analytics, but in the type of remarketing that Madhu showed us, enables you to be much more successful, right? In this particular statistic, to achieve 3 times more likely to reach your revenue goals by having this platform of tools. So all of this has been very top of mind as we set out to create this Google Analytics 360 suite. And I thought it would be helpful to share with you some of our vision around this product offering. What are we aiming to do here? So we really wanted to offer a powerful and integrated analytics tool for the biggest enterprises as well as those who are not quite as big, that helps you measure and improve the impact of your marketing, and not just on one device, but across every screen, across all of the touch points that your users have with your business, and one that makes it easy to use and makes your data accessible to everyone. We talked about some of these themes already this morning in my news talk, the themes that Google Analytics thinks about as we're evolving the analytics tool, and we'll talk a bit more about that in this presentation as well. And it's, I think something that Madhu said is really important to note, right? It's not just about data, it's about insights, it's about action. If we have some numbers that we can do a monthly report on, it's the beginning of November now, so I know many people have been scrambling to do monthly reports. So you get the number and you say, great, my user metrics have gone up. Okay, and as we saw earlier, maybe that's not the whole story, right? So what you really need are the insights. You need to know, based on all the data you have, what information is most pertinent to you so that you can be successful in the moment, so you can win your objectives and be a successful business. So the Google Analytics 360 suite is made up of 8 products. And this is a fairly expansive product suite, so I can't claim to be an expert in all of the corners of all of these products, so bear with me, I'll try to give you a thorough overview of all of the offerings we have here. The first one, Analytics 360, we heard a lot about this morning. So this is the rebranding of Google Analytics Premium, which I think many of you should be familiar with, which is our enterprise offering of Google Analytics. And this is the measurement centerpiece of the Google Analytics 360 suite. Right? This is the tool that you'll use to gain a lot of insights and measure user behavior across both web and app, and to start to get insights that you can then spread out to the other tools. And we'll talk about that product workflow a bit later on. The next tool, Optimize 360. So this is a website personalization and testing tool. And I don't know, I saw a number of hands of people who have used analytics for quite some time. You probably know some of the history around this. More recently, we had content experiments in Google Analytics. Before that, there was actually a separate tool called Google Website Optimizer. Right? So we've tried over the years to give you a great way to optimize the site experience. Right? And this is the latest incarnation of this, and a much more integrated and powerful tool than ever before. So using this, you can show an experience to a certain set of your users on your website, and show one experience to one group of users and another to another set of users, and identify which of these experiences is best at helping you achieve your particular measurement objectives. Attribution 360 is our media mix modeling tool. It's our way of helping you zoom out and look at all of your marketing data across all of your different channels to see which of those campaigns are most successful and help you think about how to allocate your budget. So I don't know if any of you heard a few years ago, or a couple of years ago rather, we acquired a tool called Adometry. And we brought that into the Google Analytics world. And we spent quite a bit of time rebuilding this tool from the ground up to help you make the best decisions about your marketing campaigns using Attribution 360. Audience Center 360 is our data management platform. It's an audience tool. So it can help you understand more about your audiences using data both from Google Analytics and from third-party sources. And can help you find more people that look like those audiences. So more people who are likely to be high-value customers or likely to take some action. So that you can reach out to them and engage them to increase the scope and the expansion of your business. Surveys 360, this is the most recent addition to the Google Analytics 360 suite, previously known as Google Consumer Surveys. And this is a tool that can help you get great market research directly from your users. So, rather than just relying on the data that you have from your analytics tools, which can be hugely valuable, Surveys 360 actually allows you to reach out to your customers and ask them why they're engaging with you, what they like about the experience, what they don't like. It's also, interestingly, a good tool to just get a general sense of a market. It's been used in the past in the United States, for example, for polling of elections, to get a sense of, maybe next week in the United States, who's going to win which state and whatnot. So you can send a survey to a specific demographic of user, a specific geography of user, to understand, men in California, how are they thinking about my brand? Do they remember a certain advertisement or something like that? So across the bottom of this screen, you'll see Tag Manager 360. And this is the product that I focus most on within Google Analytics. We'll talk a bit more about Tag Manager this afternoon. But for those of you who are not familiar, Tag Manager is our tag management system. And when we think about tagging, we think about taking all of these pieces of code that are required for these products, but also any other products you might be using, whether it be Google products like DoubleClick or AdWords, and also third-party advertising tools if you use Facebook or if you use other advertising networks, taking all of the code for those products and being able to easily implement it across your entire website so that you can measure everything you need to measure, send the data to all the places you need to send it, and be able to update these things on the fly without having to completely redo things or go back to your development team. And Madhu mentioned earlier the advertising activation, so the ability to get these advertising features turned on and collect the data for that without tagging changes in the product. Some changes, when we're able to do that, we love to be able to take all the work off of the implementation for you. And it's sort of interesting that I work primarily on a tag management tool, but one of my goals is to prevent you from having to think about tagging, right? We want you to be focusing primarily on the top of this screen, so I probably won't talk more about Tag Manager until this afternoon. And the last tool here is Data Studio 360, and this is our data visualization tool. So this is a tool that makes it really easy to build interactive and dynamic charts so that you can share them across your organization. It's built on the Google Docs sharing model, so it's very easy to get more people into a tool, allow them to do the reporting they need, rather than having to print a PDF or something like that and email it around. It's a pretty cool tool. So those of you who are paying attention will probably notice that I said that there were 8 tools, and there's actually only 7 on this screen. So the 8th tool is actually the suite itself, what we call the Suite Home. And this is a place that you can go not only to navigate to each of these products, but also a place that helps you think about the organization of your accounts. So rather than having, maybe 5 or 6 Google Analytics accounts and a tag manager container and all of these things in Data Studio, you can group all of these accounts within the concept of an organization. And it's also a tool that helps you think about user management. So if somebody at your company maybe leaves or gets fired for some reason, and you don't want them to have access to these products anymore, now it's easier than ever to remove them from all these products so that you can be confident that they're not going to get access to something they shouldn't have access to. And it's also a place to think about billing and things like that if that's within the realm of things you think about. So we're thinking a lot about these sort of unified experiences across the products. We're going to have a lot more coming when it comes to the integration of these products in the Suite Home, when it comes to things like user management. We're continuing to think about this area, and we'll have more features and more functionality built into this as we proceed. So I'd like to now go a bit more into sort of the workflow that you might use if you have all of these products working together and the benefits of these things. And I think we ended up calling this product offering the 360 Suite. And the reason for that is it helps you think about your customers in a 360-degree manner, right? But more than that, it also helps you think about your marketing campaigns. It helps you think about your experiences across your websites and your apps in this 360-degree, this full picture view, right? So, it's important to be able to have marketing campaigns that are informed by all of the data you have, but also to be able to take information from that marketing campaign, and once you've driven your users or, acquired new customers and driven them to your websites or your apps, to be able to optimize those experiences and understand how that particular campaign works with all of the other advertising marketing that you have to drive a successful programmatic and integrated marketing program within your business. So let's take a look at a use case here. Let's say, for example, that you are a large retailer. And you're starting to think about, you want to understand more about your users so that you can be more useful to them in the moments that matter most when they're thinking about what to buy and where to buy it. Right? You're a retailer and you really want to bring them back to your business or bring them to your business for the first time. So Analytics 360, Madhu gave a great overview this morning of some of the ways that this has expanded, and we're continuing to think about its expansion as a user-focused tool. And it's a great way to see user engagement across both web and app. So you jump into Analytics 360, and you start to use our segmentation tools, and you find maybe a particularly, as we were talking about earlier, a particularly high-value segment of users. Maybe just a simple example, maybe it's a segment of users whose average order value, whose average basket size is 50% larger than the average user. So these seem like pretty valuable users to you, pretty important customers. So it makes sense to be able to reach out to them, to talk to them directly and understand, who they are and why they are such high-value users to you. But we also want to think about expanding that audience, right? Find new customers so that our business can grow. First, though, we talked this morning about AdWords already and how you can remarket to those users. And this would be a great thing to do from Analytics 360 at this point in your user journey, would be to say, hey, I have this segment of users. Let me share this audience directly with AdWords so that when they're searching for related products on Google.com, we can show them a highly tailored ad to drive them back to our site, right? And this is we know a bit about these users from this segment, so we can share this audience and actually tailor a specific advertising campaign to them to be more successful at driving them back to our business, which is great. Next, we mentioned that it would be beneficial to be able to reach out to these users directly, right? And this is one of the reasons we brought what was formerly Google Consumer Surveys into the Google Analytics 360 suite. So with this survey product, we can actually reach out to this particular audience and understand from them how and why they reacted to our advertising campaign or our search engine optimization or whatever drove them to our site in the first place. I talked a bit already about how this tool can be used also to understand how they feel about our website experience. Maybe we want to try something new, and we have great tools in Optimize 360 to be able to get quantitative results for which of those experiences is best. But if we're trying to figure out something more qualitative, we can reach out to this audience and we can understand from them what they felt and if there was something that they would have liked to see differently. But we can take this a step further within this particular workflow. We can think actually about ad recall and campaign awareness. Do they remember the campaign that we showed them? I think there was a question earlier about it's not only about the last click, right? It's about these assisting conversions. Maybe we're spending money on a magazine ad or on television, right? Did they see a campaign from us on television? Did they feel like that drove them to the site? Do they remember it? So this is another great way that we can understand our users and how they're sort of flowing across all these experiences. Audience Center 360, again, this is our data management platform. And I think I said we wanted to be able to not only reach out to these customers, but expand this audience. So we want to find more people like these beyond search, right? We're already remarketing with AdWords. We want to think a bit more about, finding more high-value customers everywhere we can. So Audience Center 360 allows us to get deeper insights about this audience. So we can use tools like data from Google Analytics, proprietary data about things like demographics, geography and whatnot beyond just what you get in Google Analytics today, and also integrated third-party data sources so that we can look at this audience and understand not only what we have from our first-party data on our analytics data collection, but also other attributes of them. And we can find users who overlap with those attributes so that we can identify what we would call a lookalike audience, right? More users who are similar to these high-value customers so that when we're advertising, we're doing the things that will drive those particular customers more and more. And then with this Audience Center 360 tool, we can integrate those audiences directly with DoubleClick Bid Manager, right? And this is similar to search in that we have this native integration with this advertising product, and it helps us quickly and easily take action, right? So you've seen a couple of the ways already that our 360 suite can help you have more of an integrated marketing program, right? We can help inform your campaigns, help inform how you're creating those advertising campaigns so that they're higher value, that you get a higher ROI, return on investment. But there's more, right? This is just the beginning of your engagement with your customers. So we want, as I mentioned, to be able to continue to optimize this experience once these users arrive on our websites or our apps. We also want to be able to continue to have this circle of data come through and be able to optimize how we're spending our money on these marketing campaigns. Because even though we informed these marketing programs based on our data and based on third-party data, it's possible that this isn't the best use of our money, right? And there are other ways that we could be thinking about allocating our marketing budget. So let's take a look at what this would look like in this user flow. So remember, we had these high-value customers. We remarketed them on AdWords. We found more users like them with Audience Center 360, and with surveys, we kind of understood a bit more about their awareness of our campaigns. But we were able to give them this highly tailored campaign in these places based on what we know about them. And then when they arrive on our website, they see the same experience as everybody else, right? They get into this workflow where they land on the homepage or a landing page, and we can hope to drive them through our website to a conversion. And this seems a lot like 10 years ago when we had a website and how we were trying to drive users. So with Optimize 360, I mentioned earlier we can use this as a testing tool, But we can also use this as a personalization tool, and we can show a particular website experience or a particular promotion to these users once they arrive on our site so that we can continue to be tailored for them and continue to drive them forward and continue to increase their lifetime value and make sure that they're a good customer for us. And then we can zoom out. I talked a bit about allocating budget, and that's exactly what Attribution 360 allows us to do, to create a model of this media mix, right, to see where we're spending our money and whether it's being effective. Okay, and then with all of that, one thing that I do want to talk a bit more about in this presentation is Data Studio 360 and how this helps us sort of collaborate and think about our data together. So, we talked a bit already about how we were able to find our best customers, how we were able to find more users like them. We could tailor our advertising campaigns and the experience directly to them. And all of this is possible because we have this integrated platform of tools now, right? And it's not only integrated with itself, but we have these integrations with our other tools, things like BigQuery and third-party platforms, but on the advertising side with tools like DoubleClick and AdWords, right? So there's a lot of opportunity here to get the right data and be able to use it in all the ways that is effective for you. Madhu talked about the themes that we think about, right? When we think about Google Analytics, how we're thinking about evolving it. And I'd like to add one more theme here to the three that he presented. So when we're thinking about this whole scope of all of our products, it's also, as I mentioned, really important to be able to share these insights with everyone. So we have the ability to understand the customer journey, right? We need to be able to understand how our users are engaging with us, with our brands, with our businesses across all of these devices and touch points. We need to get insights, not just more data, right? Share insights with everyone. So if you really want to be successful as a whole organization and not just as a marketing department or an analyst department, you need to be able to share this data in an effective way and collaborate to use it, right? And then finally, delivering engaging experiences. We talked about how you could tailor these experiences and create experiences for your customers that will drive them to success. So let's take a few minutes and go into some of these a little bit more in depth. Understanding the user journey, we talked about this, but I think I'd like to mention Domino's Pizza. So Domino's Pizza, is a great example of this. So they were able to integrate a series of tools, including Google Tag Manager, their site and app analytics, and a variety of data analysis tools. And they were able to connect their own data sources with this, right? And to be able to understand things like demographic information, but also order frequency, and really see from their data and from their web analytics data how the entire user journey played out over time. And as a result, it allowed them to save 80% of the costs on their ad serving and operations, right, while increasing their monthly revenue by 6%, right? So by taking a full customer view here, they were able to really save money and make money at the same time, which is great. I think we mentioned this morning that we have a lot of data already, right? We're drowning in it in a lot of ways. And it's very important to still be able to collect everything and measure everything that's important to you. And that's what we'll talk about later on today with Google Tag Manager. But it's important that you have the tools at your fingertips that allow you to get insights, not just more data, right? And, I think it means that you need to not just have data in a silo, you need to be able to think about how all of this data can work together. And when you start to do that, Google Analytics as a tool can help provide you insights. We talked about some of the future of Google Analytics, some of our recent feature development that tells you interesting things. The more data we have there, the more we can tell you. And it's important to think about this as an organization because, we have more data than ever before, and this is a problem that Google has thought about for a long time, right? If you go back 10, 15 years and you search for something on Google, we had these 10 blue links. And this was our attempt at telling you something interesting. You know, you might start asking a question like, what's the weather in Santiago today? And we would give you 10 different weather sites, right? But now it's about more than that. It's about getting you an answer. As Google, we want to be able to help you as quickly as we can with insightful information and help you get on with your lives. Now imagine if your marketing wasn't just about questions, right? It wasn't just about, oh, who are my high-value users and how can I engage them more? But it was about marketing answers as well, right? It was insights presented to you in such a way that you were able to walk away or walk into an executive meeting and be able to present a solution that would help you continue to be successful or find new areas of opportunity. So Progressive is a great example of a company that is starting to live in this world of marketing answers. And I think we have a few minutes left here, so I will jump into a video if I can. If it works, and if not, it's okay. Oops. Well, I think in the interest of time and getting this working, I'll go back to the slides. It's okay. One second. Oops. Okay, well, apologies for this. 1 second here. Oh, there we go. Okay, well, that won't work. That's okay. Don't worry about it. It's essentially to say that Progressive has started to think more about this entire experience of their websites and their mobile apps, and using the Google Analytics tools. They were able to actually figure out in their apps today, or previously at least, they were thinking a lot about getting people quotes, right? They're an insurance company and they wanted to get people insurance quotes. And they found that users weren't terribly satisfied with this experience. They wanted to actually be able to purchase those packages, makes sense, directly on their mobile apps and not have to flow between all of their experiences. So they were a good example of a company that has started to think about this. The theme that I added here, building on top of what Madhu presented earlier, is sharing insights with everyone. And I think there's a good example of this in Adidas. So I think most of you might be familiar with this brand. And they're a great example of when you break down these silos within an organization and you start to think more about collaboration, you can achieve great things. And they're a great example of a brand that got this right. So before the World Cup in 2014, they actually created a new digital experience team. They combined their IT team with their marketing team. And then for the World Cup, they were able to do things that separately they never would have been able to do before. They set up a social media hub and they co-located it with Google so that they could work together to be presenting good campaigns and tweets on Twitter. They had the official game ball with a camera in it, so they were able to get views that others were not able to get, and to be really the most prominent of the sponsors for the World Cup, and be really successful in that in terms of increasing their brand sentiment and making people aware of what they were trying to do. And they were able to do this because as a marketing team, they could have done some social media, right? And as a development team on the IT side, they could have had some websites. But when they were able to collaborate, this really meant success for them because they did innovative things. And with the Google Analytics 360 suite, we're thinking a lot about that collaboration capability as well, right? So a tool like Data Studio, as an example, will help you start to break down these walls and think about things together in an integrated way. We talked already a bit about delivering engaging experiences, so I won't spend too much time on this. And I think in the interest of not screwing up the presentation, I'll skip over this video as well. But the gist of this, there's L'Oreal, and L'Oreal is a global makeup company, among other things. And they wanted to introduce a new brand to North America. And they were able to tailor this experience so that ultimately, let's see. Okay, well, it's in the video, but ultimately they were able to achieve 2 times the revenue that they expected, right? And actually have a very significant increase to the engagement of their users with their marketing without spending as much money as they had anticipated. So a quick view as a summary here of how some of our customers have gotten value out of the 360 suite. Progressive really helped them find these aha moments, right? Get insights out of their data, not just more data. L'Oreal has a seamless integration with DoubleClick, and this helped them to be more optimized with their advertising. And Nest, I didn't talk about. It's a Google company, but it actually allows them to understand what's working on their sites, right? And just a summary of all of the products in the 360 suite. There's a lot here, and I think you can maybe understand why I'm not an expert in every corner of each of these products. But the high-level things here is for us to have powerful data integrations, to have a unified, centralized UX so that you can easily do things for you as an organization, think about user management, think about billing, and also to have enterprise-class services, right? Whether it's directly from Google, depending on where you are, or from one of our excellent partners, to be able to get the help you need when you need it, to use these tools successfully, and have guarantees around things like SLAs so that you know that these tools will work, right? And to bring it back to the same summary that Madhu shared with us, with this 4th theme in here as well, the sharing insights with everyone, just to reiterate, these aren't siloed strategies, right? Our suite is integrated because these experiences and these strategies are integrated, and it's very important for you to think about this as a cycle, right? A virtuous cycle. The more that you put into one particular area, the more that you'll be able to do in the next. All right. And that's it. Thank you very much. Sure.
Gracias, Scott. ¿Preguntas? ¿Tienen dudas? ¿Consultas? ¿Desean profundizar algún? Catalina, por favor. En español, y a él le van a traducir, no te preocupes.
Hola, mi nombre es Catalina. Trabajo en la Universidad Andrés Bello, encargada de marketing del mundo adulto. Y mi consulta es, bueno, nosotros en un futuro tendremos Google 360. Y lo que me gustaría saber, en el fondo, es qué requisitos debe tener el sitio web para poder llegar a segmentar o a reconocer las distintas audiencias, porque hoy día en el fondo nosotros tenemos a lo menos 10 audiencias distintas. Entonces eso me gustaría saber. ¿Qué requisitos debe tener tanto el sitio como los formularios para poder tener ese reconocimiento?
Sure, yeah. So if I understood correctly, and just to reiterate, so you're asking what the requirements are for your website to be able to segment properly with this 360 suite. Right, so the great news is that Google Analytics out of the box allows you to do a lot of this segmentation without having to do much custom work. But one thing I would tell you is the more information that you're able to share in a first-party manner with Google Analytics, the richer this analysis, the richer this segmentation will be. And there's different ways to do that, right? Maybe you know information from your, from a customer relationship management software that you could have integrated in some way. Maybe you have a user ID if you have a signed-in experience that you could share offline and be able to expand based on the user report that Madhu had shared. So if you do have these experiences, or you have a reason to have these experiences, like a signed-in world, those can be very beneficial. If not, there are still ways that you can get a lot out of segmentation. If you can see, for example, users going to a particular part of your website, right? I think you said you were from a university, and if you have, for example, a place where professors go to log in versus where students go, right, you can easily start to think about, okay, well, I know that somebody who visited this part of the site is probably a student versus a teacher. Right? So there's a lot of ways you can get value out of that. The short answer to you is you don't have to do much to start doing this segmentation. And as you can start thinking about enriching this data, you'll get a lot more out of it. But that's really just up to the information you have and what you want to segment and analyze.
¿Alguna otra consulta? Por favor, no pierdan la oportunidad.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Fernanda Mariodo de mi red social. Tengo una duda respecto al área social media. Quisiera saber qué plataformas podemos integrar para retargeting en Audience 360.
Yeah, so I think the question was about social media and Audience Center 360 and specifically, you know, which platform can be integrated. Right, I think it's, you know, there's a lot of ways that you can start to think about your social campaigns and throughout Google Analytics. When we think about Audience Center 360, we're thinking primarily about taking these audiences that we have from Google Analytics and from our other data sources and starting to enrich them and find more tools like them. I don't know specifically offhand which social media platforms are integrated. If you find me afterwards, I can certainly look it up and get back to you on that. But suffice to say, hopefully you're aware of a lot of different techniques that you can use to start thinking about social media, whether it's measuring click-throughs from social media, referrals, or doing things with, for example, Attribution 360 to get this whole mixed model. Or even, you know, I mentioned our Surveys 360 product. Right, to understand if your users had maybe seen a particular campaign somewhere, whether it be on Facebook or Twitter or something like that. So there's a lot of opportunities there to think about social throughout the suite. Yeah.
Paul, tiene. Wait, el micrófono.
I realize that Suite 360 is the paid version.
Yes.
Do you have quickly a reference for which components of this are available for those that do not have the paid version?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's so almost all of the products that I showed up on the slide are available in a free version, except at this point for Audience Center, 360, and Attribution. So all of the other tools, analytics, obviously, you're all familiar with. Google Tag Manager, Optimize, we launched a free version of this about a month ago. Data Studio, we have a free version as well. And Surveys, Google Consumer Surveys previously is also a free version. So there's varying availability by regions for these things, and we're continuing to expand the availability. So if it's not yet available in the region that you're working in, stay tuned. But yeah, that's a great question, because if you're not yet ready to use and pay for one of these enterprise products, there's still an opportunity to use the tools. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you again.